Yikes, the Colorado Avalanche are going to be down and Nazem Kadri going into Game 4 and likely for the rest of the series. What are the Avs lineups going to look like without Kadri in them? I've got a few options that we could take a look at heading into there, but I do think at the end of the day, Jared Bednar is going to go ahead and end up putting them through a blender a couple times. So whatever he ends up using in Game 4, I don't think will be his last combination. Losing Nazem Kadri can't be understated for the Colorado Avalanche. We've seen what happened to the Bolts without Braden Point. You've heard me say this on this channel. When you lose superstars to this caliber, or at least important cogs to your team of this caliber, it can be very hard, if not impossible, to recover. But if anyone can do it, it's going to be the powerhouse Colorado Avalanche. The Avs have already lost Girard and maybe Kuemper for the rest of this series. We know Girard is going to be out for the rest of the playoffs due to that brutal injury. When you lose a top 3 defenseman and you lose a starting goalie, and now you are losing your second line center, one of the best centers in the playoffs and in the league this year, Kadri, make no mistake, opinions about him be damned. He is having a career year and it is a massive difference maker for the Colorado Avalanche. So losing him is going to hurt. But I do think it's the combination of losing Girard, Kadri, and Kuemper that could end up damaging the Avs going forward. But we're just going to have to wait and see, because this team is so deep and well constructed by Joe Sakic. So we know right now when we throw up the current lineups that this is what the Avs were running in Game 3. We know that it's Landeskog, MacKinnon, and Nichushkin, and we know that Kadri centers Rantanen and Landeskog. Now, what ends up happening to this lineup with Kadri not in it? And centermen they're just so difficult to replace, team. They are so hard to replace. They drive the line. It's not like wingers can just step in and take over for centermen. We've seen examples of it in the NHL, but it is difficult. And I think there's 3 line combinations we want to talk through. The first and most likely line combination I think that ends up happening is you move aube-kuble into the second line and you make limited to no changes after that. You leave the first line together because Nichushkin has been a beast. You go Landeskog, MacKinnon, and Nichushkin. Then you run Landeskog, aube-kuble, and Rantanen. Look, I do not think that this is the ideal scenario for the Colorado Avalanche, but it allows them to go forward with limited disruption. Then you leave Newhook, Compher, and O'Connor together on the third line, and then you go Cogliano, Helm, and Sturm. Nico, look, he ends up getting back to the lineup. I see that's the guy that I would put in. Maybe I end up being wrong on the fourth line here, but we really are focusing on the top 3 lines right now because that is what is driving the Colorado Avalanche. The second option here actually sees aube-kuble staying on the third line, bumping over to center, and moving up JT Compher up to the second line. I think this starts making a little bit more sense in my head anyway, because I think Compher has had just an absolutely banana sandwich dominance run in the playoffs for a third line player. He's been the best third line player right now for the Colorado Avalanche. I think this rewards a guy that has been shown he can play with speed, and I think you need to play speed with speed. I think Compher complements Rantanen quite well, Landeskog quite well. This is starting to look to me like a little bit of a better lineup going forward for the Colorado Avalanche. And then finally, my preferred lineup would actually be Landeskog, MacKinnon, and Rantanen. I put the power line back together. Why? Because I'd want to give them more minutes, and I want to go ahead and hammer this one home by putting my stars all together. Landeskog and Compher still ends up on the second line for me, Nichushkin, and I look to a guy like Nichushkin to drive the second line. I tell him, look, man, this is a compliment. You're one of the best players on the team. I think you can help carry this line, and it's very difficult for wingers to carry lines, so don't get that one twisted. I end up leaving line 3 and line 4 exactly as you see it here, and this could definitely change if Burakovsky ends up re-entering. We know he's out with a lower body injury. We haven't seen him in 2 and 3. Maybe he ends up re-entering. I think that would be a huge boost right now for the Avs, but we could be playing all the way to the Stanley Cup final without Nazem Kadri. Will he return? Time will tell. Girard definitely not returning. And will Kuemper come back? We'll have to wait and see. You let me know what your line combination is for the Colorado Avalanche down below. Thanks for being here, Avs fans. Let's keep it rolling.